I welcome you to my channel. Subscribe and listen to my new stories every day. The evening air was crisp as I turned the key in the lock, the familiar click of the door swinging open granting me entrance to the dimly lit hallway of our home. It had been a particularly grueling day at the office, and the thought of a quiet evening was all I craved. However, as I stepped inside, a faint but distinct scent caught my attention, an unfamiliar cologne, musky and bold, lingering in the air like an uninvited guest. "Hey, honey. I'm home," I called out, my voice echoing slightly against the walls. "In the kitchen." Rachel's voice floated back, light and airy. I shrugged off my coat and hung it on the rack, the scent of the cologne weaving through my senses, unsettling yet unplaceable. Walking into the kitchen, I found Rachel at the table, her phone pressed to her ear, laughter spilling from her lips. She was animated, her usual stress lines smoothed into a warm glow. "I'll have to tell you more about that later." "Yes, it's been crazy here too," she chatted away, oblivious to my entrance. I leaned against the doorway, watching her for a moment. The ease of her laughter, the carefree tilt of her head, it all seemed so normal, yet that alien scent whispered doubts in my mind. Dinner passed with mundane chatter. Rachel talked about her day, skimming over details, her phone buzzing intermittently beside her. I nodded and ate, the taste of the food bland against the growing suspicion in my mind. The next day, a Saturday meant for rest, found me alone with my thoughts. Rachel had left early for a yoga class, or so she said. The house was silent, save for the distant hum of the city. It was then, as I tidied up our bedroom, straightening out the edges of our life together, that my hand brushed against something soft and alien under the bed. Pulling it out, I stared in disbelief at a pair of men's socks, definitely not mine, their fabric foreign and their presence in our bedroom inexplicable. My heart hammered against my ribs, betrayal seeping into its every beat. Memories of last night's unfamiliar cologne flooded back, piecing together a puzzle I never wished to complete. The laughter, the secretive phone calls, it all made a cruel kind of sense now. Fury bubbled up, raw and uncontainable. I sat on the edge of the bed, the socks clenched in my fist, and plotted. If Rachel could shatter our vows with such ease, then I, too, could dismantle the life we shared, piece by piece. As the door clicked open and Rachel's footsteps echoed down the hall, a cold resolve settled over me. She greeted me with a smile, unaware of the storm brewing in my gaze. "Found something interesting while cleaning today," I said, voice steady as I held up the socks. Her smile faltered, eyes widening with a flicker of fear. "Whose are those?" she asked, her voice a tremble disguised as curiosity. "Oh, I was hoping you could tell me," I replied, the edge in my voice sharp as the plan unfolded in my mind. Retaliation, cold and calculated, was the only path left for me. As she stammered, trying to weave her lies, I knew one thing for certain: our lives as we knew them were about to unravel. The air in our living room was thick with tension, each breath heavier than the last as Rachel's eyes darted around, seeking an escape that wasn't there. Her lips parted, words stumbling out in a frantic jumble. "Those socks, they must be from when my brother stayed over last month," she blurted, the lie as thin as the comfort it was meant to provide. I raised an eyebrow, disbelief etched into my features. "Your brother who lives in Italy? That's quite the travel for a pair of socks, don't you think?" Rachel's face flushed a deep red, her usual composure slipping under my scrutinizing gaze. "Mark, please, you're overreacting. Let's just sit down and talk about this like adults." I scoffed, the sound sharp in the quiet room. "Talk? Like when you were laughing on the phone last night?" "Who was that, Rachel? And don't insult my intelligence, it wasn't your sister." She hesitated, then sighed, shoulders slumping as if resigning herself to a battle she'd hoped to avoid. "It was just a friend from work. We were planning a surprise party for a colleague." "Please, you have to believe me." "Believe you?" My voice rose, anger boiling over. How can I when all I have are your lies and someone else's socks under our bed? Determined to find the truth, I walked over to her purse and began rummaging through it, my actions driven by a mix of betrayal and desperation. Rachel protested, her hands grasping at air as she tried to stop me. Mark, stop. You can't just. Her words cut off as my hand closed around a small, velvet box hidden in the side pocket. I pulled it out, my heart sinking further at the sight. What's this then? More secrets. Opening the box, I found a pair of exquisite cufflinks, clearly expensive and completely unfamiliar. Rachel gasped, her face paling. Those aren't, Mark, please listen to me. I bought those for your anniversary gift. You weren't supposed to find them yet. Every word seemed to deepen the pit in my stomach. Lies or truth, it no longer mattered, the seed of doubt had rooted too deeply. I want the truth, Rachel. Now. Under the weight of my stare, her facade finally cracked. Tears brimmed in her eyes as she took a deep breath. Okay. There's someone else, she whispered, the confession slicing through the remnants of our life together like a knife. The world seemed to stop spinning as her betrayal fully dawned on me. The pain was sharp, immediate, and demanding retribution. My mind raced with possibilities, each more vindictive than the last. You've made your choice, Rachel, I said coldly. Now I'll make mine. I stormed out, leaving her sobbing in the living room. The evening air felt cooler now, almost biting. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number of the most cutthroat divorce attorney I knew. The line rang, and I waited, my heart hardening with each tone. Hello. Mark here. I need your help, immediately. It's about my marriage, and it's urgent. As I detailed my situation, a plan began to form, a plan to ensure Rachel regretted her betrayal, a plan to reclaim my life and pride. The game had changed, and I was now playing for keeps. The battle lines were drawn, and there was no turning back. The morning lights spilled indifferently into the stark office of my newly appointed attorney, casting long shadows across the sleek, modern furniture. Each piece seemed as cold and hard as the decision I had made. Sitting across from Mr. Daniels, a man known for his ruthless efficiency in family law, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Mark, I understand the situation is delicate and you're looking for a swift resolution, Mr. Daniels began, his voice smooth and rehearsed. I need you to provide all the evidence you have, texts, emails, anything that can substantiate your claims. I nodded, pulling out my phone. I started documenting everything as soon as I suspected. I handed over screenshots of suspicious texts I'd found on Rachel's phone and detailed the incidents with the cologne and the socks. Mr. Daniels scrolled through the information, his expression unreadable. This is a good start. We can file for divorce on grounds of infidelity. The evidence is compelling enough for a favorable settlement. The word settlement echoed in my mind, hollow and unsatisfying. I don't just want a divorce, I said, the words sharp and bitter. I want her to feel this betrayal as deeply as I have. She ruined our life together, she needs to understand the consequences. The attorney regarded me with a measured look. Revenge might feel necessary, but it's my job to ensure you come out of this legally unscathed. If you wish to push for specific terms, such as full ownership of the house or maximum financial compensation, I can certainly pursue that. Good, I said, a grim smile tugging at my lips. And I want the proceedings to start immediately. She's not getting any hints until she's served. As you wish, Mr. Daniels replied, typing briskly on his laptop. I'll prepare the papers today. You'll need to sign them by the afternoon so we can serve her by tomorrow. Leaving the office, I felt a chill despite the rising sun. The plan was in motion, the wheels of justice, or perhaps vengeance, turning inexorably towards their conclusion. Later that evening, as the sky darkened and the city lights flickered to life, I sat alone in what used to be our favorite cafe. The buzz of conversation around me felt distant, muffled by the roaring in my ears. My phone vibrated, and I glanced down to see a text from Rachel. Can we talk tonight? Please. I'm so sorry, Mark. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keypad. Part of me yearned to confront her, to unleash the storm of anger and hurt. But another part, cold and calculating, knew better. No, I typed back, deleting each character slowly, deliberately. Then, switching off my phone, I slipped it into my pocket. The server approached, her smile tentative. Another coffee, sir? No, thank you, I replied, my voice steady. Just the check. As I walked home, the streets seemed narrower, the night darker. Every step felt heavy, every shadow a reminder of the life slipping away from me. But beneath the weight of my actions, there was a fierce determination, a resolve to see this through, to emerge not just intact but victorious. Tomorrow would bring the confrontation, the culmination of my plans. And as I turned the key in my door, stepping into the quiet of an empty house, I knew there was no turning back. The dice were cast, and whatever came next, I was ready. The morning was unnaturally quiet as the hour approached to execute the final act of my plan. The legal documents were ready, the trap set. Today, Rachel would receive the papers that not only marked the end of our marriage but also ensured her departure from the life we had built together. As I sat in the solitude of our living room, the silence was abruptly shattered by the doorbell. My heart thudded in anticipation. I strode to the door and swung it open to reveal a courier, a man oblivious to the weight of the documents he carried. "Mark Thompson," he asked, extending the envelope toward me. "No, for Rachel. She's in the garden," I directed him, a cold satisfaction settling over me. The courier nodded and walked around the side of the house, his steps sealing the fate I had orchestrated. Minutes later, Rachel burst through the door, her face pale, her eyes wide and frantic. "Mark, what is this?" she gasped, waving the divorce papers. "You want everything, our house, the savings. This isn't just a divorce, this is revenge." "Exactly," I said calmly, standing to meet her gaze. "You betrayed me, Rachel. Did you think there would be no consequences? How could you do this?" "I made a mistake, but this is cruel." Her voice broke, the facade of control crumbling as quickly as our marriage had. "A mistake?" I scoffed, my voice rising with every word. "You call destroying our life a mistake? No, this is justice. This is me taking back my life." Rachel looked around the room we had decorated together, the home we had built around dreams and promises. "I loved you, Mark. I still love you. I was lost," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "Love isn't an alibi for betrayal," I retorted, my voice icy. As the argument escalated, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was my turn to be surprised. Standing at the door was Rachel's so-called friend from work, the man I had only seen from a distance. "Rachel, I got your message. What's happening? Are you okay?" he asked, concern etching his features. Seeing them together, the pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. "So, this is him," I said, voice dripping with venom as I turned to Rachel. "Well, now that he's here, you might want to tell him about the part where he loses everything too." Confusion spread across the man's face. "What are you talking about, Mark?" Rachel turned to him, sobbing. "He's going to make sure we have nothing left. He's taking everything." "No, I'm not," I said slowly, the full weight of my revenge unfurling. "I'm taking everything from you, Rachel. He's just collateral damage in your deceit." As they both stared at me, stunned, I continued, "And just so you know, this house, your job, your savings, it was easy to put everything on the line when you thought you wouldn't get caught." The man stepped back, his look of concern turning to one of realization and then horror. "Rachel, you said you were separated," he stammered. The final twist of the knife. Not only had Rachel deceived me, but she had also lied to him. My revenge was complete, not just through the law but through the unveiling of her lies to everyone involved. Rachel's knees seemed to buckle as she realized the extent of her unraveling life. "Mark, please, isn't there a way to fix this?" "No, Rachel," I said firmly. "There isn't." With that, I walked away from the wreckage, not once looking back. Rachel and her companion faded into the background, their pleas drowned out by the closing of the door. The betrayal had been bitter, the revenge even more so. But as I stepped into a new, solitary life, the fresh air never felt so clear.